welcome back, everybody. That intro still gets me pumped up. I saw some of you guys saying hi. So real quick, hi, Aries. Hi, Brian. Hi, Jared. Hi, Austin's in here with us, but I'll bring him up in a second. Hi, Art, man. Thanks for being here. Andrew Lipner, thanks for being here. Thank you for enjoying that countdown. We love it. We get this pumped to get you guys pumped. I'm really looking forward to today's talk. I myself have experienced some of this stuff. I won't dive into it yet, but I've experienced some of these same scenarios. So I'm going to have a fun conversation here. As always, you guys are welcome to join the conversation. Put your comments. We'll put them live. We'll interact with everybody, and we'll get going. But let me introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Austin Jackson, to the stream for now.
You see this mean face that this is what happens when I hear that intro. It gets me fired every time, and I tell Omar, you gotta mute me, because when we come down from 3, 2, 1, I go boom. It gets me fired up every time.
I'm gonna have to get you in there.
Welcome back. It's good to see everyone on here again tonight, and Happy New Year. I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas, and this is our first podcast edition back for the new year. I'm excited to be with you guys again tonight, and I feel like we got some real good juice coming tonight. So what was tonight's topic about, Omar?
So if you guys remember, Jake Clark did a previous show with us with comms and eSports, which was fantastic. It was a little bit mind-blowing of the intricacy that these guys go through just to make this happen between the players and what they got to set up in the individual comms and having comms for individual player teams, and also for them to hear and everything else out for the announcements in their team as well. So there's a lot of communication going on here, and they kind of broke it down for us and did a really cool thing with the AV Tech Talks. Now this one, however, is a little bit different. So we try to do some more of the soft skills on the podcast side, but this one is going to be interesting because a lot of times people have a little bit of an ego, right? Which is common, but a lot of times you get hired out, or you may get hired out, right? Who knows? But sometimes you are an A1 who the client brings you on board because they know you're gonna bring and deliver what they need. But the end client has brought in their own lead engineer or their own person. And that title can sometimes be a little bit of like a jab, like, oh, I'm the A1, I know everything. Yeah. When in fact, you could be a competent A1 and be, hey, I'm here because my client brought me in. I'm here to assist you to make sure that this show, because it's whatever size it is, massive, right, is going to go well. So let's work together. Don't talk down to me because I'm here to help you. And it's a thing kind of universal in the industry, right? Like everybody's got their own way of doing things, but a lot of times in this industry, some people get a little ahead of themselves and they don't respect the people they're working with. So we're kind of breaking down some of these stereotypes, bringing out some of this wordplay that we're kind of used in the industry, between being an A1 or the audio engineer without an engineering degree, right? So maybe you're an audio technician, but no one wants to be called an audio technician because that doesn't sound good. See,
I feel we get so caught up on the little particulars of things sometimes, and you already hit the nail on the head where you talked about ego. And I'm already pumped. I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. For those of you who don't know, tonight's guest is a broadcast engineer first and foremost. He has well over 10 years of experience in the industry, but not just 10 years to say I got 10 years of experience and I was doing stagehand things of the sort. No, I'm talking this guy he's a certified rigger. He's been a technical director on the West Coast across the United States. He has over 2,000 shows under his belt. How many guys can say that? So when we're talking about bringing in experience, the man, the myth, the legend, without further ado, let's bring in Jake Clark.
Man, I'm absolutely humbled. That countdown was extremely cinematic.
Yes.
Got me just as pumped as Austin and Omar. And that's an extremely humbling intro. Thank you both. It
is our absolute pleasure to have you here, bringing your insight and your knowledge with us and being able to share that with the community here tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it with the ego. It's a job. It's a cool job, but it's still a job, right? And I think a lot of people lose focus of that, and they get so, their mind is just set on the title, where that's all they're focusing on is the title. Like it's this trophy on a shelf that they got to reach. And if I was to define it, I would say the term A1 is a responsibility. It's a responsibility more than a title, more than a job. You are by definition, A1 is you are responsible for the design, install, operation, and teardown of all audio equipment. And the client is expecting you to honor that, and everybody else on the crew is too. You can't. It's one of those jobs you can't bullshit, right? You can't say, "Oh, I can do this," and then when it really comes down to the wire, if you fail, like it's costing tens of thousands of dollars by the hour because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain, and everybody knows really quickly who's full of shit and who's not.
Yes, sir. How often have you seen that in the industry?
Not too often. I mean, I come from, I don't think I'm that old. There's a lot of older gentlemen and ladies in the industry that are more experienced than me, but I am privileged enough that I was brought up in that culture. And that culture, 10 plus years ago, you couldn't walk in a room and call yourself an A1 without one of the seniors in the room calling you out on your bullshit. You couldn't do that. Like I see it nowadays, and I'm like, oh man, like I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago. all of the senior engineers and the senior technicians, they would have. Who are you? Like, what? No, man. Like, you didn't throw it around as flagrantly as you throw it around now.
You had to earn those stripes.
Yeah, you had to earn your stripes, and then there's industry peers, and there's the people you look up to, the ladies and men that you look up to, and it's not that you want to impress them, but you want to be part of that group too, And I get it, and I see a lot of kids now. I'm not gonna boast about myself, but maybe they'll look at me or they'll see me on a tour or in a broadcast truck or something. And they'll ask me a million questions like, how did you do this? Or like, how did you get there? And like, I want to be that. And I always have to tell them, like, don't worry about the title. Don't like, I want to be an A1. I want to be an A1. I want to be an A1. Like, dude, that's the steak sauce brand.
Good steak sauce, by the
way. Learn the trade. Learn the basics of it and get a mentorship. That's by far what I tell most people. It's what I had to go through, so maybe I'm impartial towards it, but I went through a mentorship. Like my mentor is probably on one of the comments here. If I was to think, like if you look and see a guy named Brian on there, like he brought me up a long time ago. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Right? And it was just, God, man, it was a different culture. I'm telling you, you couldn't just walk in the room and be that guy, because the people that were that guy, that were that experience, they would just call you out on your bullshit to your face. And when you're responsible for, today's going to cost $1 million in that live production, because I've worked with Usher's team with him. I mean, not to name drop, but the level of responsibility. Kenny Loggins, Kenny G, Shakira. Like, you cannot do those if you can't do the job. Like, if you fuck up, you are costing not only other people's jobs and livelihoods, but you're costing like thousands and thousands of dollars, right?
And theoretically, you might end up costing yourself that job too, because not only that job, but future opportunities. Because I'm sure the word will get around. Hey, don't hire that guy. He doesn't know what he's doing.
So here's what they say about that. So technically, like, companies aren't supposed to have blacklists. Like, I guess that's a taboo, that you can't have like a blacklist of people not to call. But what we most certainly have are white lists and clean lists. And those are, these are all of our must-be's and people that we call and trust. And yeah, man, that's a great way to get yourself off of that list, for sure.
Understood. You already hit the nail on the head with something that I love the fact that you brought it up so early, where you talked about mentorship, because a lot of we talked about ego, and I feel like ego is probably what keeps a lot of technicians from having the humility to go to someone to ask for that mentorship. Can you deep dive into that just a little bit?
Well, I mean, it'll take me about 5 minutes, but I'll break it down. There was this guy named Brian. He's on here, and Brian was a very trained and seasoned engineer at the time I met him. And he had trained under a man named David Taylor, who was extremely known in the audio world. And when I met him, like, I was, young and dumb. And he said, hey, at the time believe it or not, I was an EMT. and working as an accountant part-time. And like most people, I had a really basic kind of home studio that, most people have in their bedroom, right? Like one of these little microphones or whatever. And we were friends, and he came over and recorded some stingers at my house, like, please welcome to the stage, and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, dude, what do you do? And he was like, you know what, man? You should quit your job and just roll with me. Because, like, you'll have way more fun. You care way more about this than what you're doing. Like, do something you love doing.
That's awesome.
So I legitimately quit my job, quit them both. And I ended up going around the country with this guy for 2 years. And I was his shit stick. I was his lackey. And there were so many things, like he wasn't a dickhead, but he had a certain way of doing things, which I can appreciate now in my position. And I learned everything from setting up a line array to how important phase alignment is, to sub alignment, to how to mic up a person, to even etiquette, right? Like I did a big show. I even wrote this down. Like we did big show productions. We did Kenny Loggins. He ran monitors a couple times for him on flying gigs. And anyway, we did a big show. It was like a political show, right? Like Condoleezza Rice and Al Gore and these political people. And one of the guys, it wasn't one of them, had a really big face and he had a DPA headset mic. And he kept moving his face and the boom was hitting the face. And he ended up taking it off and breaking the boom. That's how fed up with it this guy was.
Wow.
And I'm young and stupid and don't know any better. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy just broke a $600 mic, right? And I'm talking it like this on comm. And Brian reached over and put his hand on my shoulders and was like, you need to shut the hell up. This show is $1 million. I don't care about a $600 mic. Perception is everything here. So he taught me how to navigate a lot of that. We used to do mock sets. So when there wasn't shows, we would go into the shop and we would build shows. And he would run me through all sorts of types of like, well, what if this happens? And what if this happens, right? And he was a pain. And if you can hear this, Brian, this is like the number one pain in the asses he would do to me. Which kids now, like, they don't have to go through this shit. He would walk up behind me and delete my show file. And just wipe out the console completely to default.
Wow.
He would look at me and say, oh, did you save your file? Did you back it up? Yes, you will next time, won't you?
Ooh.
His favorite little game is he would wait till you were like 2 hours in on a show file, and then he'd walk up and just wipe it out. Because, we're in a warehouse and we're doing mock trainings and mock sets and, all you're really wasting is my time. Like, you're not wasting your client's time with that. He would also do this other thing where he would call you in the middle of the night. That was his final test to everybody. He would call you at like 2 or 3 a.m. in the middle of the night and wake you up on purpose. And then he would give you a fake scenario. Like, here's this fake scenario of like a problem you're having during a show. And you had to be able to walk him through how to fix it and troubleshoot the problem, being dead tired. Because his theory was, in this world, you're going to work relentless hours. You're going to be dead tired, and you're going to run into these problems. So he needed to make sure that you could still troubleshoot under that level of stress. That was his train of thought. And he would, God, man, I would get the calls next to my wife at like 3 a.m., dead asleep, and, like, oh, this amp had a failure, or this Dante was coming out. He actually got, I wrote it down on my notes, he got one of the first CL3s when those came out, and it was serial number 7.
Wow.
Serial number 7 on the CL3, and I wish I had a picture to show you guys. But yeah, that was the first time I touched one of those, because before that it was M7s, PMs, and LS9s. And then the line arrays, there were the old EAW stuff or Adamson stuff, and they were way, like, we didn't have our hands on Meyer L Acoustics yet, but the older stuff. But that was his train of thought, man. Was that. And finally, I'll tell you guys, at the end, one day It was the Grammy after party. The fucking Grammys just happened. Excuse my language. I'll not do that again. The Grammys happened, and they had an after party. And Brian was in Carolina or some other state, and he was mixing a band out there. And somebody had to do this Grammy after party. And I begged the production manager. I was like, please, like, I'm ready. Like, let me do it. Like, I can do it. And he got really close to me, and he said, okay, I'll let you do it. If you do a good job, that's your job from now on.
Wow.
If you fail, you will never do it again. Not with this company. So I wired that stage completely up myself. I didn't let anybody else touch it. I got it 3 days early and went through all my checks and whistles. It was a jazz band, so it was a 12-piece band on that stage. And yeah, I sent it. Still to this day, one of the best shows I ever had. And Brian obviously heard about it. And he sent me a text message a couple days later in the middle of it was like 6 a.m. And he said, hey, I want you to read this when you wake up. But I don't mind if you call yourself like an A1 in front of me or other people.
Wow.
Like you have earned that level of respect from me at this point.
Wow.
It meant the goddamn world to me at the time. This is 10 years ago. You know?
So you hit the nail on the head but you gave us so much information. I want to put a pin in it real quick and dial it back, because one of the first things that I want our viewers to pick up is, in order for you to get that mentorship, in order for you to get that guidance, the first thing that you did was offer value. You were able to provide those recording services and whatnot for him to help him out. Because of that, and he saw your passion, he took you under his wing and started teaching you. So that's the first nugget that I want people to pick up out of all of that.
And it's also drive and passion.
Definitely.
And sometimes too. You'll see so many people, and I hate to say it, but like they'll come out of Expressions or Wholesale or something like that, and they think immediately they're here. They think they're immediately at the top of the list, right? And I'm like, that's cool. Maybe they can mix, or they have a good understanding of like gain structure or EQing or things like that, but they haven't put in the years of like, what do you do when this fails? We can all read the manual on the equipment. What are you going to do with that curveball, man? Like, do you know how to tune a room? Do you know how to fly a line array? Do you know how to accept that responsibility? And that level of calm and cool and collectedness, like that just comes over time. And you're right. We see, I know Brian saw it in me. He saw it more than the recordings and more than that. You're right, the value. But the real value is showing the passion for it and that you care. Because people will see that same value in themselves, right? Like, how passionate are you about something you care about?
Definitely.
And when you see that in somebody else, like I've done.
You definitely want to feed into it because it reminds you of something within yourself.
You're right, and I've at this point I've had 2 other people that have mentored under me, and I chose them because they showed me that. Yeah. They were just whatever it took, and every day they were happy, and they would teach me something. If you can have a mentor, like a mentorship problem, where maybe there's an apprentice level there, and the apprentice could teach you something. I mean, that's a holy shit moment right there. Yeah. And I've had it. I've learned new things before. Like, hey, why don't you try this? I'm like, you know what? You're right. And then it grows into a beautiful friendship. And Brian, to this day, we still tackle monsters, man.
That's only after they forgive you for deleting their settings.
Oh, man. Yeah, he was relentless about that. But you know what I do now? I have like 3 USB sticks.
There you go.
It's ingrained in my brain, man. And if I walk away from the console, my file is saved, and there's a backup I usually have on a lanyard.
Nice.
Nice.
But I actually love his training methods because he put you in real-time solutions, real-time situations where you had to provide those solutions because he knew that that's what you would be facing in the real world. And he put you in a position to win, a position to be successful.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Some people really do want to see you fail, because I found that a lot in kind of LA Hollywood people. Like, I won't name anybody, but you'll see some people making mistakes, and rather than helping them out, they're just like hoping you kind of make a mistake so then they can climb the ladder. And I never got that with Brian. With that level of people, everybody wants to succeed. You know, it's going to be a good show because of the team and not the individual. And a lot of people just lose track of that, man. Like, I used to say 3 things. I'll tell you guys this. When I was our technical director for the West Coast, I would tell project managers and production managers these 3 things. If somebody does a good job, don't ever say the words, oh, they never got there if it wasn't for me, or they wouldn't have done a good job if I didn't give them this handout. Like, obviously, they did something right. Obviously, they did something right to be there and to do that, and they should be given that praise. Like, you shouldn't take away people's victories and, you know, pat yourself on the back. That's not cool. The second one, this is really important too, and I tell everybody this, and that's accountability. We're all human beings. We're all going to make mistakes. But when they happen, nobody likes a bullshitter. And most people, if they've been in this industry for a long time, they will smell it out instantly. So just be honest with it. I'll give you guys a real quick one there. I did a political thing. I think this was Condoleezza Rice again. And in the middle of there, I didn't have my Dugan set up right, and I didn't have my inserts the way I wanted them because it was kind of a rush thing. And I made a mistake. I put my insert in the wrong position and lost my head amp. And her mic just went away. It took me about 5 seconds to instantly realize what I did, fix my mistake. But there was 3 to 5 seconds of no mic. Bad, right? The end of the day, we're having a post-mortem on the show. The production manager looks at me and he says, hey, what happened? Like, did the console fall? Did we lose power? He never blamed me. He just said he didn't think it was my fault at all. And I said, no, that was my fault. I did that. That was an error I made putting my insert in. And he was like, well, okay, moving on. And that was it. Because I was honest and I owned it, they knew I was telling the truth. And they knew that if I was, wise enough to admit my mistake, that I'm probably wise enough to learn from it.
Yes.
The third thing is this. The third thing is probably the most important on this list, and that is this. If you are in a position of leadership, if the show is a good show, it's because of the team. It's not any individuals. Like, there's no heroes here. It's great job team. Like, the team kicked ass because we work in a team-based job where everybody has a piece of the puzzle, man, and they all have to help each other. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But if it's a failure, you have to own it. You can't, well, he did this, and he did this. Like, no, at the end of the day, if you're the production manager, that's your responsibility. If you're the A1 and the audio failed, it's not the A2's fault or this other thing's fault. It's yours. You have to, nobody is going to care about the million excuses you're going to give. They're not going to care, especially when it comes down, to the money and the finances. They're not going to care. You were the leader. You were the one who was expected to do the checks, the balances, make sure that your department was 100% sound. So do not call yourself that title or that position unless you can hold that responsibility. And I've told them all that.
You are dropping so much nuggets. You have the comments blowing up. Omar, let's get some of these comments up. Let's get the community involved because they're dropping some gems out there too.
Yeah. So I gotta say, usually there's a lot of Q&A going on here, but people are feeling it, Jay. They're definitely tuning into what you're saying. Brian James is definitely calling you out on some things and iterating some of the things that you're saying. Just supposed to shield your team's backlash. That's a leader. 100% agree with that. Iris was saying she agreed with what you were saying about supporting the team and everything. Steve had said this is all great leadership advice. Kiki was saying here, passion is how you tell the diamonds in the rough.
Ooh, that's a gem. That's so true.
Yeah, Ruth is saying as well, own your mistakes. Great advice. 100% agree with that. We've mentioned that multiple times on this show. Brian James, again, own your shit. 100% agree with that. Again, back to your comment about the saving and everything, how Brian kind of ingrained this to you, and the process you have just from that alone, right? Like, I'm sure that was maybe done once or twice, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna forget this shit anymore. And now it's like it's probably saved you on shows that you didn't even think about at this point.
He was ruthless back in the day, man.
Are you the same with your mentees now?
I'm nicer. I'm directing a shoot next month, and he's the audio lead on that one. And like most people with me, like they'll be like really relaxed and like having a coffee. When Brian walks in, they're like,
they set that attention.
They get very, very proper, very quick still. And
I will say this from your mentor. I like what he says here. Brian, I'm going to steal this and put it in a quote for us one day, but be worth the effort by just being interested in the craft, by Brian James. I think that is phenomenal. That alone speaks volumes about everything you've done, everything Jay's doing, and just pushing that legacy of what you've created forward. I mean, this is fantastic, honestly. And everybody involved is really vibing with what you're saying, and they're understanding it, and they're getting it. There were some talks about, Iris was saying, I've encountered new graduates who felt they should be the TD and not pay their dues as a grunt. We've talked about that, especially Austin and me, about paying your dues. I mean, myself included, I did 6 years in a warehouse as the everything guy. I paid my dues, and I was the truck guy, the QC guy, the warehouse guy, the loading guy, the show guy. I was all of that.
How you learn all aspects too.
God, that's one of the hardest jobs, because you're packing the truck, unloading the truck, building the show, doing your part of the show, repacking the truck, putting it back into inventory. God, it's a brutal job, man. Yeah, and I honestly, so I want to say I'll even go further back. The first 2 years until I went back to school for my second degree, they didn't let me touch it. I was the warehouse guy for 2 years. So I was, whenever they needed to be something, I was the guy there with the warehouse manager doing whatever needed to get done for all the departments. And then after 2 years and like pretty much managing the fruit department, pipe and drape, screens, scenic stuff, they then let me start doing more video stuff. And then like a year, 2 years later, I became like the video assistant. And then the last 2 years, I moved in from like that assist to like the lead. So my first mentor was honestly a guy I worked with for 6 years, was Michael Allers, and he taught me a bunch of stuff. But I had to learn. Was it a production company? Yeah, it was a production company out of South Florida. But I had to learn everything before I could be the lead for anything. I had to learn the cameras, the projectors, the switchers, the DAs, every position, the media servers. I had to learn them all inside and out. Right, but it's still a job, and people, like you said, nobody is going to put that trust in you unless they're sure you can nail it. Because if you make a mistake, if I worked at a clothing store and accidentally rang up somebody wrong, like no big deal, right? If we make a mistake in this job, like it is literally costing thousands of dollars and potential clients and contracts, all of that. So the people around you have to be certain that you can hold up your end of the deal. And it's literally that. Because your mistake may cost somebody else a job. Wow. And it's brutal, but I mean, there's not very many team-based jobs like this job. I mean, that's how hospitals work. That's how the military works. Like they require everybody to hold up their end of the deal.
Yes, sir.
100%. Yep.
And so it seems like, when you talked about an A1, it seems like the title was the last thing that you earned, but you had so much education prior to you being knighted with that title, for lack of a better way to put it. But it seems like one of the things that you learned, besides just the boards, the settings, and all of that good stuff, was also about the leadership that's involved. Do you find that that's something that's missing in a lot of the guys who consider themselves A1s because they graduated out of Full Sail or SAY or wherever? Yeah, I mean, I don't ever want to diminish the schools either, because there's so much that they bring. They produce talent. I actually went to college for drafting, right? Like, I have a degree in drafting. That's what I went to school for. But they do come out of the school with that a little bit of entitlement there. But you're right. That's absolutely what they're missing, is the leadership qualities. And I can tell you, absolutely, there's so much of this business that is beyond what they can teach in school. The school can't teach you about those backroom fucking deals that you're going to walk into.
those hard load-ins, those how to navigate union politics, right? That's a huge part of it. Nothing wrong with the unions. I have a great standing with IATSE. I'm not a member, but I understand how to work with them and not against them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you'll see the kids coming right in there and they'll have that attitude. And I'll tell them, like, you got to go, don't jump in that lift. Well, why can't I? It's our lift or blah, blah, blah. No, you need to go discuss that with the steward first. Well, what? Trust me. Like, please, like, we're in their house. We are a guest here. And as such, you need to act accordingly. And a lot of the younger guys, they don't have, that mentality yet. They're so run and gun. I used to be told all the time. It was the same feedback I'd get in every kind of, the biannual meeting with your boss, whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That evaluation. They would always say, you're doing great. You just need to slow down. And I never knew what that meant until I saw other people doing it, where they're just running headfirst at everything, rather than taking that extra 10 seconds to consider the options. And you're right, that's just what's taught over time. That just comes from the experience of take that extra 5 to 10 seconds and just think about it. Think about what you're going to say. Think about how the load-in is going to go. God, man, bringing coffee and donuts wins you a lot of points. I swear to God.
It's networking.
100%. Especially if you're late, bring coffee and donuts.
Oh, that's mandatory if you're late.
Bring coffee and donuts, man. I'll bring Red Bulls too sometimes. Not everything does coffee.
Oh yeah, if you bring Red Bulls at the end of the night, people will be thanking you. They'll remember you for sure. Yo, I work with this guy Jay, bro. At the end of the night, he brought some Red Bulls. We killed it that night. Yeah, it's a good night.
I love the making friends part of this job. That's one of the best parts of this job.
Yes, sir. And we actually just started talking about this a little bit before we came on air. We talked about building the relationships, building the friendships, and when you get on the show site with those personnel that you've worked with before, it's comforting knowing that you don't have to worry so much because, this guy's going to play his role. This guy's going to do what he's supposed to. And at the end of the show, it's all going to come together.
Absolutely. When you're in that leadership role, you need to define responsibilities, right? This guy is the systems tech. This gentleman is the A2. And that's another thing, which people on the internet or whatever may find my next statement annoying. But whenever I hear somebody say my A2, I like roll my eyes. Like, you don't own this person. You know how many people I know that are A1s that do A2 work? All the time. So it's like, oh, he's my A2. Like, you don't own him, dude. That's just a letter number combination.
Yeah.
But they're always predefined responsibilities, and that's what they always should have been, right? Like A1 should have always been, you are the over-encompassing leader of the audio department, and you are responsible for that. And then, the A2, he has his list of responsibilities, which are usually RF, intercom systems. Maybe he gets pushed into monitors. That happens a lot if there's not a monitor engineer dedicated and there's a band or an opening act. I can damn near guarantee you the A2 is going to be mixing that. Or he may jump in front of house and somebody else may take monitors. It'll happen. But it's the predefined levels of responsibility. If I have a systems tech and we've already talked what the system's going to be, I have a couple guys. Brian was my mentor, and now he'll do systems tech jobs on shows I'm on, where he knows the curves I like he'll write a flat curve. I'll have a little bit of a crisper curve and listen to it here, darken it up a bit. He'll have those all written, and I know for a fact he's going to nail it. I don't have to watch it. I don't have to think about it. If I have a couple of the gentlemen that work in the A2 roles, I know comms will be nailed. I know RF will be nailed. I don't have to think about it. Like, as the leader, I've put those people in those roles and given them and entitled them with that level of responsibility.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So, I mean, nobody.
I firmly believe that that's what leadership should be about.
Absolutely. No one dude should be trying to, pick up the mountain on his own back. Like, you're going to fail. You need to dish that responsibility out effectively.
the weight that's required on these shows, we have to work together as a team because the weight is too heavy for one person to lift. That's how I like to try to break it down. We work together as a team. Every man grab their corner and we'll get this thing off the ground.
You're absolutely there. And I mean, exactly what you said, Austin. There's so many people too that like, oh man, like lighting is taking some time right now, but audio is up and done, right? Well, what's wrong with helping them out? Like why is that such a big problem? You know how many LDs I've jumped on and been like, all right, man, like I'll go throw your downstage wash up for you just to help you get a little quicker done because it's better for the team, right? Like I don't know why that exists too. Where
one band, one sound. I love it.
Hey, I just want to jump in real quick before I get too far ahead in the comments. So Andrew asked you, Jay, please talk about the importance of an A1 having good communication skills. Sorry, yeah, there we go. Having good communication skills with the clients and production staff. And I know we kind of covered that a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that we addressed Andrew specifically for asking a
Great question, Andrew.
So I've done a lot of praising on Brian on this one, and I know he's listening, but I'm going to poke him with this question for sure. We are under a ton of stress, right? And the clients, they don't know that. They don't know what goes into any of this. They put money down and they want their thing, right? We have to always do that with a smile on our face, and we can't let them know the problems and the stress because that's going to create stress with them. Now, Brian's never done that, but Brian, he won't go out of his way to be nice. He won't stop on that. I've had to, a couple times like, hey man, we gotta butter this one down a little bit, all right? And he's like, why? But yeah, perception's reality, right? And the client is always going to perceive the level of confidence that you give them. And if you project that confidence and your team does, the client is going to be happy as hell. But if you waver in that, if you get iffy, if you start asking too many questions, if you're just too irritable to be around, they're going to sense that in you. And now that's going to make them uneasy about the entire production. So
that's perfect. That's perfect. I got another thing here from Becky right here. I just want to put out there to the community. Becky Campbell says, as always, I always plan to have someone do a Starbucks run for every halfway through the workday. When they get back to get a break and assess, I like this part, right? So when we get back and assess where each department it is and how everyone's doing, real builds trust and camaraderie. I like that because it's like, hey, here's some coffee or snacks. Also, where are you at? How can we get this? Make sure we're done on a good time frame here. That's a very a good way to trusting.
Becky Campbell. No, she nailed it. She nailed it. I couldn't have said it any better than she did.
That was genuine. That was awesome.
She brought up something that I wish I mentioned, which is absolutely just having that conversation. Like, hey, how are you doing? Where are you in your department? Like, you need to stop what I'm doing to help you so that we can catch up. Like actually having that conversation, because some people won't speak up, right? They're too scared to ask for help because they think it's going to diminish their value, and that shouldn't ever be the case. Like I always, I would rather you ask me for help than not, and we all fail together, right? So I do exactly what Becky says. I usually walk around like, hey, how you guys doing? Everybody's department cool? Everybody, are you in good spirits? Like, is something bugging you? Like, can I help you? She nailed it.
That's absolutely perfect because I found so many times that, like you said, let's say the lighting guys are still doing something, but the audio guys are already up and running. But the way that the industry is transitioning, so many of these guys are Swiss Army-nized. They have so many different skill sets all in one person. So they may be able to walk away from audio and help out lighting, but if they don't know that lighting needs help, then we're at a standstill. So I love that. And that's why the communication is great to work together. And
there's nothing, I had a post about this a couple days ago where I was talking to people about directing. And I said, yeah, like I'm a trained audio engineer, but like times because of COVID and other things, like you gotta be flexible. You can't just sit back in your chair and be mad that nobody's calling you for audio gigs when there's no audio gigs. You could be learning something else. You could learn how to color grade. You could learn how to program a Grand MA. You could always projection map, set up a camera. Like there's so many things that you could learn that ultimately, like that may not be what you're passionate about, but god damn it, man, it's certainly good to know.
Definitely.
Yeah, I got another one here I wanted to bring up from Ed right here. And this is just a good little knick-knack as well. Ed says, when I'm a show leader, I frequently refer to the crew as Team Awesome. It's a small thing, but sets the tone. I like this. It's a double thing, right? It just sets the tone for how I think of the text and what level I expect. Awesomeness.
That is awesome.
Right? It's good. It's like a play on words. I like that a lot. I got another here from Brian as well. Brian says, your client needs to see you as a talent, not a vendor. I like this perspective, right? It's a little bit of a change of what we're used to. A level of respect will develop when they're listening to you as a colleague, not as an order taker. I really like that a lot because it changes the way you kind of view yourself as a person, right? And not just as a yeah.
He's not completely correct. I mean, go Team Awesome. And Brian, like, you guys will get to meet this dude. There was a technical director down for Comic-Con down in San Diego, and he told me one day, he said, there's two types of people I call. I call scalpels and I call hammers. Brian is a hammer. 100%. And that's my wife.
Hi, Mrs. Clark.
Hi. It's good to see you.
Sorry, guys. Give me a second.
No worries. No,
but Omar, exactly what he was saying is absolutely necessary. When we talk about leadership, we often talk about the chain of command. So when you have TDs who's staying on top of things by staying in touch with the leadership roles of the positions, I find that it tends to make things go smoother and a lot of the times faster as well. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It certainly goes smoother and faster, man. It's communicate and be friendly. God damn, you know how far a smile gets you? When most people are just like beaten down by the job. They're on hour 18. You know what I mean? Like they've had their one slice of pizza for their crew meal.
Oh yeah.
All been there, huh?
Hangry is a real thing for people that don't know about it. If you're in the AV industry, hangry is a real thing.
Yep.
Rigor. All right.
So real quick, guys, I just want to bring attention. I got 15 minutes left on the clock here. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about Jay's story, please ask him now in the comments. In about 5 minutes, I want to take us a little bit off topic here real quick and focus a little bit more on Jay and something else he does for the community. I'll post a link to it in a little bit. But again, if you have any more questions that we should ask about his journey and his thoughts and his procedures and mindset, please ask him now. In about 5 minutes, I will shift us to a different thing here that I want him to talk about because I believe in what Jay's doing and I love what he gives back to the community, and I want to make sure you guys are aware of what he's doing, and I want him to talk about it. So again,
Chick, can
4 minutes.
Can I ask the audience one thing real quick? I want to ask the audience a question.
Shoot.
Okay, everybody on here, if you have ever done this job or been involved with this job at all, there's two types of approaches you're going to get. And this is, I truly believe, because they were talking about the A1 thing, and that's kind of how this talk came up. I love the title audio lead. Like, what's wrong with audio lead? Right? Like, there's front of house engineer, there's monitor engineer. What's wrong with audio lead, right? Because the A1 thing, right? But here's why. Here's the question for that. You're on tour. You walk into a building. There are two types of approaches that you're going to get. Approach number one. Hi, I'm Jay. Nice to meet you. And the guy or lady, they may say, hi, I'm the audio lead here with this house. Nice to meet you. You are going to have a great day. I promise you. Option number two. Hey, I'm Jay. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm the house A1 here. A1. Like, you already know how it's gonna go. You already know. Hey, can you shade the bottom cell on that line array a little bit for me? Nope, won't do that at all for you. Okay. Can I get the drive lines now? You can get them when I tell you get them. Okay, I'm the A1 here. All right, man. Like, there's those two approaches you're gonna get. You're gonna get both of those people, and when you have done it as many times as I have, you're gonna just learn right away when you hear that trigger word how your day is going to go.
And I like that. You know, I'm a big believer in words have power, and just changing again, like I say, the verbiage a little bit here and there gives you a different perception of what you're coming into.
And I just popular opinion. Like I think I'm the only one on earth in this industry that has that opinion, but I don't know.
Well, I think you laid it out well, and I like the way it sounds too. Because if I were to go to a show and say, "Hey, I'm the video lead," versus "Hey, I'm the V1," it'd come off a little less intimidating, a little less like, "Hey, I'm entitled to something." No, I'm here to help you and do what we got to do. Let's work together.
Yeah, I mean, the crew call little. We all see A1, B1, LD. We all see that on the crew sheet and the call sheets, right? Like, but when you're interacting with the people, you don't need that level of arrogance at all. Like, we're all here to help each other and put on a cool show.
I also feel like we have that vernacular with each other in the industry, but those outside of the industry who may need our assistance, they have no idea what we're talking about. True. Like, we have to speak to them like they're people so that they can understand, not that they're intimidating, because the minute you say A1, V1, LD and they have no idea what you're talking about, you instantly lose them and you lose the trust.
Agreed. You're nailing it. Like the client confidence is a huge part of this. And they're not all going to know these titles or whatever, but they're going to understand audio lead. And then when we see the call sheets and the production sheets, like, we know what A1 means in those. And that's, originally how it was taught to me too, is like it's a responsibility, but it's also for the purpose of that call sheet, right? So everybody sees the letter and the number and we all know what our roles are. That makes sense to me. There was never meant to be an ego attached to it. So, any questions?
So we had a couple more good comments. Geronimo added here, always protect your crew. Your team always goes first. Clients come and go. Your team will always be there for you. That's really powerful too. Once you get to these higher up levels like Jay's at, myself and Austin, not to say you guys aren't there, but you start to realize very quickly that once a client likes you and they have a team that they like and they jive with, you will start going everywhere with this client.
Yes, sir.
And meeting
you're an investment, and
yes,
they own that for them.
Yes, sir.
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
I like this. Ruth says it's supposed to be a shorthand. It's not your title.
Yes,
yeah, agreed.
Ruth once again nailing it.
Yep, you are the audio lead. I like that. So real quick, I'm going to post right now one of two things. And Jay, I'll let you elaborate more on this, but I just posted right now your YouTube channel to the community and what you do on there. Can you please elaborate a little bit? Let us know what's all that about.
So here's the thing. I do direct real stuff, like real stuff with real nice cinema cameras and real nice commercial shoots and stuff like that. But on the YouTube channel there, I make silly videos that are low production value with like one of my DSLRs I have laying around. But more or less, it's about this industry and teaching levels of this industry in a fun way, whether it's intercoms or the consoles. Like, I'll kind of put jokes in there just to make it interesting so people can laugh, because there's so many paid services out there, like, oh, pay for this to learn this, and they're good. Like, they're really good. Like, I won't name any, but they're good. But not everybody has, $200 a month to spend to do this. And maybe they just bought like a console or a single piece of comm system, and they don't want to, look like they don't know how to use it or anything. And they can watch one of my silly videos. Not only can they laugh, but they can like, oh, cool. Like, I understand what a 2-wire intercom system is now. I understand how to use FreeSpeak and HelixNet or a CLQL console or all of these things. And they're always random. Like, I wish I had like a better organization to them, because I kind of have a list of ones I want to do, and they happen when they happen. They're all organized into really nice playlists. Like, if you go on the channel, you can click on the playlist, and they're all kind of like rigging and audio and really laid out there. But that's my ultimate goal. I just thought it was fun, and whenever I have people give me questions about something, it usually leads to me making a video about it. And I keep seeing the people commenting about riggers. Oh, man. So you put in your 3,000 hours and get your cert. And I never wanted to be a rigger. I never did. Wasn't interested in one bit. Brian would always hang line arrays, and we started doing big concert rigs, because if a big A-list name would come into town, we would get their technical writer and have to honor it, right? So fly their PA or whatever it is. Well, after flying line arrays for 2 years, the production manager asked me, he's like, well, why don't you fly other stuff? So then I did the rigging, and goddamn, that doesn't get enough credit. That's a hard job. And not very many people will wear the two hats of audio and rigging, but I think they go hand in hand. So I keep seeing sorry to go off topic there, but I keep seeing the little rigging comments popping up.
No, you're good.
You're fine.
You're good. So there's also another page that I'm going to post in a second once I get the right link, because apparently I have the wrong one. But there's another page you have that has some cool little knick-knacks for the community.
Oh, yeah.
If they're audio guys and they might want to have them.
Well, I can actually have some right here. So you guys see this QL5 in the background? Right there? Right.
Yep.
So I have, and I believe it or not, I have a lot of these now. These are little fader lids. Like this is Boba Fett. And they actually snap right over the top of the fader. And then Han Solo and Carbonite. And Yoda.
Oh, that's so cool.
But they legitimately just snap over, like if you can see. And they're really ergonomic, they hold, and it just, originally it was like little guitar cymbals and drum cymbals in a way just to make an otherwise ununique thing like a fader where they all look the same. Yes, we have scribble scripts that we can put colors and labels on, but I always wanted to like be able to just mark a fader really quick. And the old school guys will know this trick, right? Like with a Heritage or something like that, you would rip off one of the like bus faders that were like yellow or red or whatever. Mm-hmm. You would rip it off, and then you would slap it back on the pin to like make a special fader for yourself. And I always thought that'd be cool to still be able to do that without ripping something off. I have these like silly little things, and they're really cool. Obviously, I don't own anything related to Star Wars, and I could probably get in some level of trouble for that. But the actual thing itself, I've patented.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Grogi, my significant other, Becky, she keeps asking for the Grogi too. And it's hard to get a good model of that, but I'm gonna work on it.
So Iris just said that she loves it, and she had a comment that she brought up earlier where she said lots of people are broke right now, so free training is great help to keep the people going. And I was going to say thank you very much for giving that knowledge and information back to the community, doing it, and especially the fact that you add the comedy and things into it, because things are dark for a lot of people. So the fact that you can keep them interested, give them something free of charge, and they're learning, that's golden. That's golden, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Austin, man. And it's just a pleasure talking to you guys, man. You guys all care about this and think it's cool. Omar, did you see the Andy's video where I had Andy's Mindbenders with like Rick and Morty like dubbed over?
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I gotta find that one.
I'll do silly stuff like that in the videos. But
that's awesome.
But Ricardo has a question for you.
Cool.
He asks, "What's your favorite console?"
It depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm running monitors, I'll probably want like a PM5D or something larger scale for that. If I'm doing a corporate gig, I'm gonna want like a CL5 or a QL5, just because the tools on there and the inserts are great for that. My Dugan, for example, like it's just built into a CL, and you can like those consoles are meant for corporate shows. They're great for that. If I'm mixing a band, I'll probably have another Yamaha desk, but sometimes I'll get Digicos. I'll get like an SD9, 7, or it used to be a profile. It just depends on the artist too, though. So a lot of artists will have certain requests on there. Like Lupe Fiasco is like, let's have a profile for monitors and front of house, but they only provide a front of house guy, right? So I have to run monitors on that. And I know I'm getting off topic with the question, but learn multiple consoles. Learn them all. Learn as many as you can, because it'll make you that much more flexible in the field.
Got it. He also wanted to know, what is your favorite microphone under $200?
This one,
Ooh.
55. I mean, the classic 55s are cool. Under $200. Shit. The Rode M5s. Yeah, the Rode M5s or the NTG2s. If we're gonna talk about shotguns and just mics in general, for shotguns and condensers, those two cheap mics will get a hell of a lot of life out of me. I've used the Rode M5s for everything from overheads on a drum to crowd mics. So they're cheap and just work. Same with the Rode NTG series.
So Jay, just real quick, we're just like 60 seconds away from 9 o'clock. Any final words you want to give to the community out there?
I mean, yeah. Thank you, anybody who watched this and thought it was interesting. Thank you for letting me discuss this on here. Like I'm forever learning and I'm forever humble. Thank you, Brian. Like I know he was watching this. Like he is one of my he's the best man at my wedding. Like I love that dude to death. Thank you to everybody that has helped me become in whatever sort of success I've had. I mean, it's nothing but humility. I'm just forever grateful for the people that I'm surrounded by who care about this as much as I do. So that's it.
That is awesome. That was awesome.
Serious. Just remember, I'll make it quick. You're gonna run into these guys, right? They are geniuses, absolutely geniuses at their job. No doubt about that. They deserve every single bit of credit that is given to them. But their mixes are fucking garbage. Learn to deal with those guys because if you looked at it on paper, they're smarter than all of us. But they don't have the ear, and their mixes are garbage there. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, it's a responsibility. It's a cool job, but it is still a job. And just always remember that. It sure as hell beats cleaning toilets, but it's still a job and should always be treated as such. And I won't tolerate anything less than that if it's a crew that I'm on. And I'll be the nicest person in the room until you become a jerk and threaten other people's job with your own arrogance. That's the only thing I can't tolerate is somebody coming in there with an ego that is jeopardizing the team and lowering the morale and camaraderie of the team.
Wow. Powerful.
I will not tolerate that at all. Like, I don't care who they are or what it says on the resume at all. If they're coming in and they're lowering the morale and the crew isn't, where they should be, we all perform at our best when we're happy, right? When you're having a good time. You're level-headed. When you take that away from somebody, you can't expect them to perform at that 100% level that they need to. You've now stripped them of that. So.
Man, Jay, you have brought so much knowledge to us tonight from talking about the training that you went through, talking about the development that you've went through and that guys should go through, about leadership, those 3 PowerPoints that you gave us about giving the team credit where the credit is due, about the accountability, building the team and the team effort, the camaraderie, even the coffee and donuts. I mean, you dropped so much gems and obviously the crowd is going crazy. Everyone is sending their thanks and their praise. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us tonight. And I don't know, I feel like we're gonna see you on another one because our community is so happy that when they get involved with someone and they like it, they always ask for you to come back. I don't know, but I'm just saying, don't be surprised when we call you again. But it was an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight, man.
I like Omar a lot. I like you a lot, Austin. Ed's cool. I'm just as humbled to be surrounded by you guys. I mean, Ed and Andy and Omar and Austin, like all of you guys are people that I also respect, and thank you as well.
And humility about it all, having that development and keeping that humility, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thanks, Jay, for being here, man. This is super positive, super powerful. I hope people really listened and tuned in and kind of vibe to what you said, because these are some of the important skills that we don't get to have in Navy Tech Talks as much. which is why we do this. You've definitely given out, like Austin said, some real nuggets here, so the guys can not just learn those engineering and technical skills, but learn the soft skills that you need, the clients want. They don't want you to come on site. And like you're saying, and I know I immediately had a guy in mind when you're like, he's super fucking smart, super good at what he does, but he's a fucking pain in the ass to be around. And I've done shows where I've been in positions where I say, hey, this guy is like, if we get this guy, we're not, and they'll be like, no, that guy's an asshole. All right. Yeah.
We all know that one guy.
But anyways, Jay, again, man, thank you for being here so much for us. We hope to come back with you. Obviously, we posted your links out there, so if you guys want to get some of those faders from him, you got his page out there. I put Cut the Faders. You got his YouTube channel, which is awesome. If you didn't know, he also made that video we posted with Andy, and
yeah, it was Andy's Remotely Possible.
Remotely Possible. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, it was an awesome thing. If you guys haven't seen that as well, we did a show with him.
Andy Broughton is a superb engineer as well too. So.
Mad genius for sure, for sure.
Thank you both. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Omar. Both.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
All right, take care.
So, Austin, what do you think about tonight, man?
I thought it was an excellent show. I thought he dropped so much knowledge on us tonight. And I like the fact that he spoke about both sides of the business. We got some of the technical things, but we also got the personable things that we tend to forget, and leadership. I'm always talking about leadership and development, but he talks about personal development and yourself as a leader, and then how to lead the crews, how to get yourself in that position of being an A1, but not giving yourself that title, earning that title by becoming a great leader. I loved it. Guys, it's been a pleasure to see you again all tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week, Wednesday. I know we had a couple of weeks off. We all went through the holidays, and I'm not even going to lie, I was missing you all. But before we leave, I want to say take care, and we do have to give a shout-out to our sponsors.
Real quick, before I let you close it out, Austin, I just want to mention, if you guys are still with us here, this Monday on the AAV Tech Talks, we're going to be doing the coveted Zoom OSC that everybody's been talking about so much. We have a jam-packed session with you on that one coming up. And then next Wednesday, we have another cool session, more on the producer side of things and a view on that side of the world and how we do things next Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. And again, Austin, I will let you close us out. As always, brother, do your thing, man. I appreciate you. And thanks for everything, man.
No worries. So again, to the community, like I said, it's been a pleasure. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I hope you guys picked up a lot of information tonight. I hope you guys took some notes and you use them for your own personal development. I hope that you are inspired by people like Omar and Jay, and that you use this knowledge and you pay it forward in the community so that we can keep building each other up, building that camaraderie that we talked about, and empowering each other. But until next week, Wednesday, you guys take care.